Heippa hei! It's Riikka Kovasin here today, and I'm sharing an Easter card done using watercolors, inks, and some C6 dyes. Let's get started. I'm starting the card by making a background. For that I'm using watercolors and Fabriano cardstock and a flat brush at this stage. I'm wetting the watercolors and using different shades of yellow and orange as the base color, but while the paint is still wet, I'm using a smaller brush to add another color in and let those colors mix freely. So they will create this a little bit eclectic looking background. You can see me get started and then I'll cut the video to show you the whole sheet almost done. As a finishing step at this stage, I'm then adding some splashes to the mix to kind of break the transition between the treated and untreated areas. For the splashes, I'm also using an ink color, so there's a little bit of brown going in at this stage. Next, I'm then stamping some elements that are going to be layered in my card. First, I'm using this PaperArtsy stamp. It's actually a Christmas style stamp, but I thought that the cinnamon sticks and the orange slices would fit to Easter as well. So I'm stamping a couple of those to be colored later on. I'm then coloring these white flowers that I cut using C6 dyes to yellow, and these are going to be daffodils. I'm first using just the inks to ink the petals, but in a later stage I then added some watercolors as well to get the color more like a linear in a way, to get it more varying and nicer looking in a way, because the straight inked color looked a little bit just solid to my eye. I'm using inks also to make this rosette part a bit orangey looking, because that is going to be the center of the daffodil. I'm then turning my attention to another die cut piece and coloring this wood slice. I actually die cut several pieces of the same shape, layered them together with the top layer embossed. So it's going to be this a little bit thicker base layer for the whole card. I'm using watercolors to color the trunk slice, but also the same ink color I used to make those splashes. When I have the little slice done, I'm turning my attention to the flowers again. I'm using ballpoint tools to shape the flower a little bit. First, the biggest one to give it more like just a dimension, and then the last one is the tiniest one. I'm trying to get these little ridges to the petals. Then I'm pressing a hole in the middle, trying to then squeeze the little rosette into a tighter space and push it through the flower to make kind of the center of the daffodil. I'm then opening the rosette part a little bit to make it more like looking the flower, and then finish with some stamen. For those I'm using wire to thread them through, but actually in the next flowers I thought that I'm just using the wire to help me get the stamen through, whereas in this case I first thought to leave the wire in, but I'm just using it to get the little stamen through the hole in later stage. I'm making a couple of these daffodils and using some glue to hold them together. Next, I'm then turning my attention to other embellishments coming to the card. I already have the daffodils, some white flowers, also using the same C6 die. Then there's slice of wood, and now I'm coloring some of the stamped images. I'm not coloring the background because I'm then cutting it away and only using the orange slices and the cinnamon sticks as the embellishments. I'm coloring those with the inks I already have on my craft table from the tree slice and the daffodils. Then as a final little detail or embellishments, I'm making some catkins to be added to the card. For those I'm using birch branches as the base because they are quite flexible, and then I'm using air drying kids clay to make the little catkins or the soft parts of those. I'm using this foam clay, which is this little textured air drying clay for the white parts, and then silk clay, which is smooth, then for the black parts of, of those branches. I'm letting the branches then air dry. The air drying clays are so sticky, so I don't need any glue or anything to adhere the little parts to the sticks. They will stay when they are dried. Next, I'm then putting everything together. I'm using some sizzle as the base layer to give the card a little volume, then adding the tree slice on top, kind of the focal point or emphasis on the focal point background for it, and then I'm clustering the little catkins and the daffodil on top. I'm using a heavy body gel medium as my adhesive because these are so dimensional that I fear that craft glue just wouldn't hold them together, but heavy body gel does the thing. As a finishing touch, I then add the stamped elements and the little white flowers in place. For some, I'm using foam tape to make the card a little bit more dimensional, even though the main point, the daffodil, is quite dimensional on its own. After then the composition has dried completely, I then used double-sided tape to adhere the kind of center image to the white card base I made earlier. After that, I then trimmed some of the sizzle away because it was going all over, but at this stage, when everything was still wet, I wanted it to be fluffy and airy. So there you go, a quite dimensional Easter card with a lot of different elements, but you could use the elements on their own or use them to make even a bigger assemblage, let's say, or a Easter decoration. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked the ideas, and I'll be seeing you within a week. Thanks again. Bye.